Okay, so our next speaker, her name is Taylee Pratt from Omaha Zoo and Aquarium. Her paper is titled Dermestid Beetles and Friends, More Than Just Biofacts. Taylee has been a keeper for about 3 years working with invertebrates. Outside of work, you can find her at metal concerts, put up those horns, cross-stitching, and finding cool houseplants. The animal that she wants to see is the Arizona blonde tarantulas. Please give a super warm welcome for Taylee Pratt.
Okay, put this up just slightly. Okay, hello. Like he said, my name is Taylee Pratt, and I'm going to be talking about Dermestid beetles and how these really cool little hide beetles can be used for more than just biofacts and foster better relationships with other crews and other staff around our zoo and possibly even yours. So quick content warning, because we are talking about Dermestid beetles, the presentation is going to include images of deceased animals, skeletonized animals, and there's a little bit of gore, and of course, many flesh-eating beetles. So quick overview, we're going to kind of go over preparing the specimens, biofacts, and why they are important, and how these beetles can be used for more than just biofacts. So preparing the specimens from beginning to end, I will take a thawed specimen, like the American black bear in this photo. This is a bear from our safari park that I'm actually doing for the keepers for that park. And then we will remove all of the flesh or skin and hair off of that specimen. That's that same bear like 3 hours later. And then after that, we remove all the flesh. So this is an Indian rhino that I'm working on for our vet staff. It'll be a big piece in our new animal hospital that is going up for education and things of that sort. And then it gets introduced to the beetles. So that is that same rhino after all the flesh has been removed and put into our modified beetle tank for this size of specimen, which is a 55-gallon like compost barrel. And then the beetles do their thing. So this is a tiger that the beetles worked on, and they did a really good job. And pretty much we let them do their thing. Depending on the size of the specimen will depend on how long it takes. And then finally, once they finish it, we do a chemical clean. So this is a photo of bones drying. So our chemical clean, we do 24 hours in a soapy water solution. And that pretty much degreases the bones so they're ready for their peroxide soak. And that is a 72-hour solution in 7% peroxide. Sometimes it can be pushed a little bit longer depending on the specimen, or shortened depending on the specimen. So frogs and some of the reptiles, we do shorter periods of time. And then they get rinsed and left to dry for a few days until you get a nice clean set of bones. So this is a example of a goat head that I did fairly recently that was split down in half by our vet staff for pathology. So we had to repair it. And then you end up with a finished specimen. And so this finished specimen can go to be a biofact or for whatever animal area it is for. So that's an impala that we used as a biofact. And then biofacts. So biofacts are preserved or replica specimens used for education. They're used to create connections between conservation and the public. And again, teaching everybody about these things, and a great way to inspire the next generation of biologists, conservationists, and keepers. Some examples of biofacts include feathers and dried limbs or taxidermied items, eggs, hair and hide, shells, our favorite pin specimens, and then, of course, skulls and bones. So when we talk about how we use these biofacts for other animal areas and being able to provide a service for them, a lot of the times it's about providing an educational tool, a tool for the keepers to learn, and a tool for the staff and vet staff to learn. So this example is that same goat. It has a very odd jaw deformity that it's had its entire life. So the keepers wanted it back to be able to get a better look at those things. And I have a little quote from one of the actual keepers from that. And pretty much they were really excited to see this as for them for the educational standpoint, but also they were really happy to have a piece of the animal that they worked with after they had passed. And my whole thing is about giving these animals a new life after they've died as educational or a piece of history or just a memorial type thing for those keepers. And then other animal departments, we've done a lot of work for our reptile department, our hoofstock department, as well as our cat department. And pretty much any department in the zoo can reach out to us after one of their animals is passed, and we can clean it for them and give them back a piece of a beloved animal. Yeah. And then the biggest thing that we do is with our vet staff team. So our vet staff team will reach out to us to have bones cleaned and have them be able to use as an educational tool for other vet staff as well as the keepers, and being able to learn about animal health and better ways to pursue better animal health and welfare. So the example in the photo is a meerkat spine from our vet Laura. So they were able to use this as a teaching tool to explain the disease process to the keepers as well as the vet staff. And then this is a really cool example. So these are Gower joints that had osteoarthritis, and I did a collection of them, including some normal-looking joints, which are in the bottom right corner. And our vet team took these out to our safari park, which is where the Gower are, and they were able to take these to show the the keepers, what exactly this arthritis looks like, because it is hard to tell what the impact is when you're looking at just an X-ray. So they were able to take these and really be able to give the keepers a hands-on example as far as what the disease process is doing, and using that to guide quality of life and animal welfare decisions going forward with our Gower herd at the safari park. And then this is a armadillo forelimb that I cleaned for our vet Kate. She ended up using it as an anatomical reference for a textbook chapter that they were publishing. And so I did the bone cleaning, she did the articulation, and it ended up looking really great. This example, got too far. Is a giraffe vertebrae that we cleaned fairly recently after the giraffe had unexpectedly passed during an anesthesia medical event. And they were actually able to use these giraffe vertebrae to definitively determine the cause of death for this animal and provide closure for not only the animal team, but the animal health teams as well. Some of the other examples that we have, we've done a lot of things for our vet staff. Giraffes create a bony, like a bony growth essentially called ossicordis, and so we've cleaned those a couple of times for our vet staff, really doing a lot of arthritis cases. One of my first bone cleanings that I did when I first came on was a fracture on a impala limb that was actually a dart fracture from a darting incident, and so they were actually able to use that to instruct better darting practices throughout the animal health teams. And then doing lots of skulls for education, as well as being able to look at anatomy and dental disease and all of those things. And then just a big thank you to our vet staff, the keeper that gave us a little thing, and of course the butterfly and insect crew for letting me do all of these things. And then questions.
Got about a minute.
Oh, I can hold it. Fancy. Hey, so first of all, wonderful job. This was really, really cool. Second of all, I've tried to do similar things with our reptiles, and I was wondering if the process is any different, because I've kind of fallen flat on my face a few times.
So reptile specimens tend to be a little bit more complicated just because of their size, as well as the bone tends to be just a little bit fragile.
Yeah.
So when I do the peroxide dip on those, I usually will pull them a few, not quite that 72 hours. Usually try to do it like the morning of and just give it kind of a shorter bath. And that usually helps a lot. Also letting these bones like fully dry entirely will keep avoid some of that brittleness too.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Oh, there's one more.
Yes, thank you. This is really awesome. We just started keeping Dermestids as a collaboration with our mammalogy department at the Natural History Museum. And I was just curious what substrate you use. It took a while for them to ramp up. We added styrofoam, and for some reason they love it, but just would like to know what substrate you're using.
Yeah, so we use wood shavings, but instead of styrofoam, we use actually a pupation chamber, which is egg carton stuffed with cotton. So it tends to be a little bit more of a sustainable option, and it's actually compostable. So when you do your cleaning, it will compost, and as long as the egg carton is holding the cotton, they'll continue to tunnel and tunnel and tunnel. So yeah, feel free to come talk to me about dead stuff.